Yo, Toronto Film Fest, that was a thing. I was there, and this is my last one of these for this year. One of the films I saw was Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi. This film presents itself as an anti-hate satire where the director himself plays Adolf Hitler. It is a pretty funny and relatively lighthearted take on the Holocaust. The humor connected with me really well for the most part, and there was a good energy to the film. Most of it was well-paced, but I did find myself getting a little uninvested near the middle of the movie. It's relatively well shot, and there were a couple clever choices in terms of how things were shown. I didn't really have any huge issues with the acting, and the child performances were pretty good. The soundtrack choices were entertaining and fit well with the tone. I really enjoyed the personality of this film, but there were a couple moments where it seemed kind of derivative of Wes Anderson's style. It wasn't a lot of the movie that did this, but during those moments it definitely took me out of it. Still, I enjoyed myself while watching this movie, and it is definitely a crowd pleaser. Sorry I didn't get to this one before it got a wide release. I kind of forgot that was coming up soon. Anyway, I'd recommend it, and it's something that I expect most people will enjoy. And I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. It's closer to a 7 than a 5. Another film I saw was a Brazilian movie called The Invisible Life of Eurydice Guzmão. Although since I've seen it, the title on IMDb has changed to just Invisible Life. Anyway, I really loved this movie. Without really spoiling anything, the film is about two sisters that wind up getting separated for a long period of time. It's very well shot, all of the acting is fantastic, the characters are very well written and lovable, the scope of this story is much larger than I expected. It's a very emotional and engaging film that has bits of humor sprinkled throughout as well. Some parts are disturbing, others are intentionally awkward. There's a lot going on in this movie, and I was completely sold on the experience. One of my favorite aspects to this film is the sound design. There are a lot of subtle choices for background audio that you might not notice if you're not listening for them, but they really add immensely to the overall atmosphere of any given scene. This movie is a very sensory experience, and there's a lot about it to appreciate. Check this one out whenever you can, and I personally can't wait to watch it again. And I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. And the last film I saw at Toronto Film Fest was Emma. This is the latest film from Chilean director Pablo Larraín, who has directed films like No and Jackie. Whenever I watch one of his films, I know that at the very least I can expect some really interesting shots. I'm happy to say that it delivered in that sense, but there were other aspects of the film that were a little lacking. Honestly, the story itself wasn't all that great. Unfortunately, there wasn't really all that much for me to attach myself onto. It seems as though some scenes only existed because they look cool in concept. By the end of the movie, it's not clear exactly why these characters were using a flamethrower at any point. I guess it just looked cool. I really liked this movie visually, and it had an interesting tone. The acting was well done, and Gael Garcia Bernal is always fun to watch, but the plot of this film kind of just meanders for most of the movie. There are some scenes that worked really well, and there was a monologue that I really enjoyed, but too much of this movie felt kind of purposeless to leave a truly lasting impression on me. There was clearly a lot of effort put into certain aspects of this film, and there are things that I really appreciate about it, but unfortunately it didn't really connect with me in a way that would make me want to see it again. Check this one out if you want. It's not a terrible film, and there are some aspects that are impressive. As for me, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. It's closer to a 5 than a 7. Thank you all for watching these TIFF Quickies, and I'll be sure to catch some other movies in theaters this month. Thank you, goodbye.